Morning, it is Tuesday the 1st of November. Welcome to November. I want today to purposefully continue looking at the book of Revelation. We've been following it. The readings in the lectionary today moves on to All Saints Day, where we remember those who have gone before us and who are thereby, because of their faith in the Lord, saints in Christ. But because we've been working through Revelation, I want to continue that. So I'm going to pick up from where we left off yesterday. I didn't do a talk on that, but from Revelation chapter 14, and we'll pick up specifically for today from chapter 14, verse 14, through to the end of chapter 15. Tomorrow we pick up the beginning of chapter 16. And again, if you read this yourself, and I encourage you to do so, then there are an awful lot of things that are going to happen. There's 144,000 people who seem to be the ones who will be saved, but they are righteous and set apart. There are plagues where boils and plagues will break out amongst human people, particularly those who have not followed Christ, who are not of that number of 144,000. The sea and the rivers are turned to blood. And again, one is reminded of the plagues of Egypt, where boils and sores broke out on people's skins and the rivers were turned to blood. And so all of this, is it exactly what's going to happen? Can we look out at a distinct and countable number of people who will be, as it were, resurrected to heaven? Or is it just, again, symbolic? Can we say that we will know that we're in the end times when painful sores and boils break out on people's skins, and you can look at them and say, oh, we know, therefore you're not a Christian? Again, I think it's all symbolism. If the river and the seas all turn to blood and the river Euphrates dries up, for example, does that mean that this is end times? And the sun stops shining, or the sun before that shines so brightly as to burn and scorch people? Makes me think a little bit of climate change and the impact of global warming on people. All of these, I think, cannot be read entirely as if they exist on their own, but must somehow all be taken together and perhaps read somewhat figuratively. And so whilst portions of it may come true, and rivers may become corrupted and polluted, and the sun may burn too brightly or not brightly enough, and a plague, we think of COVID-19, break out amongst the world. All of this is indicative of a world that's gone away from God. And whether God brings the pandemic, I'm not convinced that is precisely the right answer or the best answer. But God brings about his wrath. And it's really the consequence of human beings just moving away from God. And if this is all the consequence of humans moving away from God, then what is it that God's wanting us to do? And it seems to me that a message in Revelation is that we must remain faithful and focused on God. We must remain righteous, because in the end, however that comes about, and whenever God determines that now is the time, God will look for those who are righteous and have remained faithful to him, have not given themselves up to corruption, whether it's political or financial or sexual or whatever, that have not given themselves up to corruption. These are the people that God will come looking for, and these are the people who will be rewarded. And so the message of Revelation is saying to us, remain faithful and true to God. There may be a lot of suffering happening around you. You may even be suffering yourself, but remain faithful and true to God, because the way of God will come to fruition. God's righteousness, God's justice will prevail, and this world will see a new world, a new place where God truly rules and reigns. And in a sense, then, we are called to make that choice. Are we going to go against God and follow the world, the great Babylon, or are we going to remain faithful to God? In a sense, perhaps a slightly smaller number than the rest of the world, represented by 144,000, not because it's the actual number. If you counted them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way through, it would be exactly 144,000. It is representative, I believe, of those, a slightly smaller number, who remain faithful to God. What is your choice? Folks, have a good day, and we'll chat again tomorrow. God bless.